Stars lost at all the stars in the sky. One is triple meter. 1, 2, 3 stars, I have seen them fall when they drop and die. So to me, it just naturally falls into a triple meter. And I could change that later, but I'm just saying that's what I heard when I just read it. Okay, then I would take the poem, and once you get a rhythm, you can kind of map that out. So I went, stars, I have seen them fall. 3, 4 stars, 1, 2, take 3, take 1, 1. So now I have a rhythm of no notes. And I can, remember this, I can change this anytime. This is the beauty of it. So anytime I want, I can add a 4th beat or change a beat or whatever I want. So now I make up a melody. Don't know where it's going to come from, but this is one I just made up. Stars I have seen, stars I have seen them fall, but when they drop and die, no star is lost at all from all the stars in the sky. The toil, I put toil up high, so it'd be like, the toil of all that be helps not the primal fault. I put fault up high. It rains into the sea, and still the sea is salt. Now, this is not the melody I want to end with, but I just wanted something to start with. It's rather simple. I could actually harmonize the whole thing with 1s, 4s, and 5s, and that's what I did, just to see what happened. Stars, I have seen them fall, but when they drop and die, no star is lost at all from all the stars from the sky. That's just 1, 4, and 5. But I'm kind of looking to where cadences were for that. Okay, then I dropped to the next level. You remember how I do this? I had you first harmonize with 1, 4s, and 5s, and then drop down and say, well, okay, here we go. Are there any important words? Are there any other chords? So instead of harmonizing the second measure with a 5, stars, I have seen them fall, I could do it with a 2, 7, 2, 6. Stars, I have seen, stars, I have seen them fall. I could even do it with a French 6 if I wanted. Stars, I have seen them fall. But then I thought, it's a little early for a French 6. Let me save that for later. But just went through and I actually found a place for a harmonic progression. No stars lost at all from all the stars from the sky. And I had not planned this. I did this very quickly. But I thought, that's 6, 2, 5, 1. Could go. No star is lost at all from all the stars from the sky. So I got my atomic progression in there. But then I thought, oh, I need something stronger. Maybe, if I'm going to go to 2, how would a 7 diminished to 2 or a 5, 7 to 2 work? No star lost at all. And then that would put some chromaticism. Or if I was using a supertonic, could I use a Neapolitan 6? What would it sound like if I had 7 diminished of 2, and instead of going to 2, went to Neapolitan 6. Or 5, 7 of 2, and instead of going to 2 to Neapolitan, which would be, from all the stars from the sky. So that would work, Neapolitan work. And then I talked about some words like fault. Helps not the primal fault. So I thought, helps not the primal fault. So I want a chromatic chord there. So once again, I can use a French 6. This is later in the poem. It might work better. Helps not the primal fault. And then that goes to 1, 6. It rains into the Another one, I used change of mode to go to subtime. So that would work too. But you see how putting chromatic chords there on a word that I consider important helps put it's like a neon sign pointing at that particular word. And I don't have what I found into it. I used a pedal for the first 4 measures. Stars, I have seen them fall. But when they drop and die. Anyway, I came up with, and it ended up, that's the process that you want to go through. So, but the neat thing about it is when I want the Neapolitan 6, I can actually change my melody. And I don't need to keep it as simple as I started with. So I also thought about, instead of going the primal fall, helps not the primal fall. I wouldn't have to go to a D, I could go to a D flat. So could go to not the primal fall, or not the primal fall. There's a change of mode, going to a minor chord. So this thing's wide open. There's so much you can do. They might even have a couple of, well, where do I start with? There's so much. But I would start with just make your own rhythm, then make the melody, then do a 1-4-5, and then see where it goes from there for the harmony. And as you go, if you want to change the melody, go ahead. But as you change it, make sure you're singing it and feeling it, so that you don't end up with this artificial rhythm that doesn't seem to fit the poem. And then I also mentioned some of these extra musical devices. One of these poems, I laughed when it talked about the birds chirping. But I mean, you can have the birds chirping. When you talk about something being deep, you can have a low note, or my spirit soared, you can have a very high piano part. So that's all right. It could be corny, but it could also be, if you did it right, it would not be corny. It would be a kind of a subconscious thing that the listener wouldn't even notice unless they tried to analyze your song. All right, does that give you enough to get started? So first thing would be choose your poem. And I want to give you time, read a lot of poems. So I'm not setting a deadline yet. Just read a lot of poems. And then after this project gets recorded Friday, sometime next week, we can talk about what we want the deadline to be for having it done. But if you can, stop by the library, ask the librarian or someone, they'll do research for you. Ask them if you have a collection of short poems, like collections of short poems, or collections of, I don't know, what do you like? They have best love poems, these collections, famous poetry through the ages. There's the Norton Anthology of Poems, that's used sometimes like a textbook for poetry classes.
What about original composition? Stay away from that.
Yeah, I have been stayed away. I tried that, and it didn't seem to work. The first time it was somebody whose boyfriend wrote her a poem, and she wanted to use it. I thought that sounded okay. She said, well, it's 4 lines. And it was really awful. The poem and the setting both ended up being awful. So, I don't know. Had it been a beautiful poem and the setting been nice, maybe I would say, yeah, that would work. But that was the last time I did it. And take a tip from Beethoven. Beethoven was the most rewritingist composer ever. I mean, he wrote something and then he re-sketched it and rewrote it, tried it with different rhythms, he tried it with different chords. They published his notebooks. It's amazing to take any of his works that they've published and follow all these revisions he did. Try it with a pickup now. Okay, now try it with an E flat instead of a natural. Okay, now try it with this. And I don't know, he was just the first great master craftsman. You know, Beethoven was the first composer ever to take his time to do it right. So everybody else before Beethoven, composers were all servants. And they were told, you know, Haydn, Esterhazy would say, I got to have these by Friday. I need a simple